Starcraft 2 is the new upgrade to Starcraft 1, and that is what we are here to bring you today in this edition of eSports. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Jason Lee.
And I'm Nick Tasteless Plott.
Well, we are bringing you the GSL, which is the Global Starcraft 2 League, featuring matches in both Code S as well as Code A. Code A, the feeder league into Code S, and we are here to bring you a Code S matchup today. Two very good players in this battle, including OFS Ensnare. He's going to be up against Liquid Jinro. Let's briefly talk about these two guys in this matchup on Lost Temple.
You know, Ensnare is a very talented player. He was one of the best, not just Terrans, but best players during the beta. Since then, he's getting a little bit outclassed, so he definitely has a lot to prove for the time being now that StarCraft 2 has been released to the public. Jinro, one of the only non-Korean players on the scene. He's a very talented Swedish player. Nerves tend to get to him, so he's somebody who really needs to focus and buckle down, but it should be a fairly even match.
Once again, it is different when you're playing on TV, on the stage, fans in the studio watching, as opposed to playing in your pajamas in front of a computer in your own bedroom. So a lot on the line for these guys, as this is the Global StarCraft 2 League. Let's go to this game on Lost Temple. And we are getting started here with the red Terran on the left.
Liquid Jinro.
Liquid Jinro, his ID, his fans here to check him out as well. And let's take a look at his opponent, the blue Terran at the bottom.
OGS Ensnare.
OGS Ensnare is his ID. And we're going to have a quick peek at him as well. Terran versus Terran matchup on this map known as Lost Temple. A lot of history with this map and this game and this company.
Absolutely. Lost Temple, of course, a classic StarCraft 1 and Warcraft 3 map. It's now here in StarCraft 2. Note Jinro's depot placement. Let's get right into this. Normally, in a game like StarCraft, that's the only location you could not put a structure, but because you can sink that depot into the ground, it makes a nice way to utilize space as far as your main base goes. You can sink that right away before anybody's even mining gas, and from there, now you have a little bit extra room to make depots elsewhere in your main. Just a little feng shui tip for those of you playing StarCraft 2 to kind of maximize the amount of space you can utilize in your base.
Fast forwarding a little bit here, taking a look at Ensnare's base. Starport already up, a couple of Marines and a Marauder as well, and a similar build here at Liquid Jinro's base. Ensnare trying to move in with the medevac, sneak attack, but plenty there for Liquid Jinro to defend with. He's got a Hellion already there, and it looks like he's gonna say, hey, you're going to attack me, I'm coming right back at you. And here's the medevac drop with a couple of Hellions in there. Two Marauders. Their Blue Flame upgrade for Liquid Jinro as well for those Hellions. Hellions picked up and dropped down by the medevac. All sorts of attack action here for Liquid Jinro. Ensnare doing the best he can to defend, and once the Viking comes over, that is going to be enough to chase Liquid Jinro away.
Meanwhile, Jinro barely saving that medevac via the SCV repair ability. And from here, it's going to be up to Jinro. Oh, hold that thought. We got a drop coming in here now.
3 medevacs for Ensnare. SCVs coming out to attack in desperation for Liquid Jinro. He does have a Banshee there as well, providing some aerial support. But Siege Tank there, Siege Tank taken out, and Ensnare taking the aggressive approach, loses the medevac as well. I was actually a little surprised at how well Liquid Jinro handled that situation, bringing all his SCVs over to help out.
Yeah, that was very adroit handling of that situation. As we fast forward a little bit more here, it looks like we're in somewhat of a split map scenario, and this is a scenario where you can, in Terran vs. Terran, get in a position where you can't really engage each other. You may end up mining out the map. It should be a pretty interesting game.
High ground advantage going to Liquid Jinro. Ensnare being forced to Scan to get a peek, but look at this drop here by Ensnare as he's attacking on Liquid Jinro here. Medivacs finally being chased away. And a tough battle between the two.
You know, so far this game has turned out to be somewhat of a, I wouldn't say static, but you know, stagnant as far as success goes, where you can see they're both trying to engage each other, but nobody's really having too much success. It does look like Ensnare has an interesting position, an interesting hold right now over Jinro, and now he's gonna move into the main.
And Vikings there. Also another medevac drop here by Ensnare. Liquid Jinro doing the best he can, again, using his SCVs in desperation.
It does look like Jinro is now dropped into the main, and he's doing a ton of damage here. Both these guys taking heavy swings at each other. Not the best offense, not the best defense for either side. Has turned into quite a bit of a slugfest.
Jinro, you can see the focus of which he's playing with. Ensnare as well. Both these guys having to multitask up all over the map. Doing the best they can to expand now is Ensnare. Of course, expansion at this point of the game is everything. Who is going to have more of an economy?
You know, it's an interesting situation here because they both are expanding at roughly the same rate. They're both having roughly the same amount of exchanges. So, as you can see, it's a bit of a back-and-forth battle. There's no way to tell who really is the favorite at this point in time.
Good job by Jinro to scan, getting a peek at Ensnare as he's trying to move away, but able to get some more shots at retreating units. Now taking over the Zelnaga Watchtower. Here is Ensnare with the medevac at the center of the map, trying to take control of the map. And meanwhile, Liquid Jinro not wanting to give it up. Going to lose a medevac there to Liquid Jinro.
You know, interestingly enough, in a situation like this, it's what we would prefer to call the favorable expansion scenario. There's no expansion which both players technically share based off of their positions. So what that means is that essentially we can go to a point in time where they both have every possible expansion they could acquire, and there's no way for there to be any one expansion that they have to fight over to secure to win the game. So moments like this really boil down to stamina and an ability to make very important decisions after a very long time in the game.
Stamina always a factor in StarCraft because you've got to not make that big mistake which can cost you so many times in a game like this that is long and drawn out. Keep in mind that some of the footage that we're showing you has been edited, so this game is actually longer than what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, we're at least, I would say about 22, 23 minutes into this game. And it's been back and forth. We're seeing non-stop action. And this is a very wearing, difficult situation where you really do get to see who is the best when put up to the most difficult challenge, one where it's not just you memorizing a build order or you executing a rush, but one where you actually have to just do everything perfectly from start to finish.
Medevacs dropping in here for Liquid Jinro. He loses the medevac to the turrets, but does manage to get a solid platoon of Marines in there, which are doing some pretty good damage to Ensnare's base.
Jinro now moving out again here. He does have some siege tanks with him. And I have to say, I think Ensnare might want to be careful. The question, though, is that where do you break from this moment? The larger part of the map where they can move around, not so huge. And it can, again, be, as I've said before, a little bit of a slugfest in the middle of the map.
And Jinro unsieges. Looks like he wants to move forward. Ensnare has position for the time being. How far is Jinro going to go? He wants to stay out of the range of those siege tanks.
Looks like he's going to try to go through an unconventional passageway here in the bottom center, but it looks like Ensnare's already prepared.
He's got all sorts of forces there, and Jinro's going to lose a good platoon. Going to try to come in from the other side now, as this is going to be a big battle. Ensnare sieges up first. Jinro's trying to get there in time, and he's got too many forces for Ensnare to handle. And once again, foils him in that lower left position.
He's got a good spot now where he can move, and he could siege up near the main base, but it looks like Ensnare's already prepared with siege tanks. Again, this game's so complex when you watch it and see the execution of all the moves these guys are doing.
Another scan to get a peek. Here is the upper left portion of the map. Ensnare trying to gain some more territory on Jinro as he shows some aggression now. And Jinro losing some forces there. We'll see if he's going to back up that portion or not. Instead, he's attacking in the lower left side at the 7 o'clock location of Ensnare's.
Nice job there. He took out that medevac that had all those units inside of it. Jinro trying to carve a hole in here. He's got a little bit of the offender's advantage here, but the problem is he's not doing any real damage at this point in time. Right now, Ensnare's defense is too good. He needs to get in there and start destroying some of these factories, his barracks, where the production facilities are. But that's the only way that he's going to be able to get ahead.
Both players with great defense right now, and you can see Jinro taking some shots at that factory that eventually was picked up. A couple of mules here, and Ensnare's base to the upper right corner in the 2 o'clock location. Here comes Jinro trying to push through with some tanks, Marines, Marauders. That's going to force Ensnare to back off. He's going to pick up with the medevacs and retreat from the center of the map. So Jinro gaining a little bit extra territory with this most recent play.
As you can see, the bushes here playing a huge role as they can't see across from the bushes without using a scan, so they're having to stockpile those scans instead of using mules in order to move through these locations and make sure that they're playing safe.
Lots of scans going on in this matchup. Planetaries for Jinro. Going to be very hard to penetrate that without siege tanks.
The Banshee now trying to take out a tank in the middle of the map. Again, it's so back and forth in this game. Nobody's really able to get the full-on edge here as Vikings, for instance, here taking out medevacs. Marauder and Marine bombs being dropped on the siege tanks. This is turning out to be one of the most complex games in early StarCraft 2 history.
Ensnare dropping Marines on top of the tanks, allowing Jinro to shoot down his own tanks. As they try to hit the Marine, well, actually, they do hit the Marine. It's just a matter of taking out some of their own units with the splash damage.
More Marauders, siege tanks, Marines in the middle of the map. We do have the point in time in Terran versus Terran where late-game Banshee usage is key, as you can see, as they fly around picking up very specific siege tanks and other important units here to try to take out position here in this game.
Ensnare trying to push forward once again as he's getting close to Jinro's main base. You can see all the units there, and once again we're gonna fast forward as this game is a marathon. Code S matchup between Liquid Jinro and OGS Ensnare in Group H. One of the well-balanced groups of this Code S season.
Now, as you can see, once again, the upper right side of the map, a little bit closer towards the center. Jinro's trying to push through here and do as much damage as humanly possible. But meanwhile, a drop over here from Ensnare as he is going to take out one of the refineries as well as no SCVs here mining at this location. Again, this matchup slowly shifting from focus to the bottom left side of the map. We've slowly gone to the upper right. They're running out of resource patches. It's very difficult to tell who's going to come out on top. Whoever wins this game, it should be one of the most memorable ones in Terran versus Terran we've ever seen, as both these guys are doing such a good job of knocking the other guy off whenever they get in the fight.
Is it possible that we can see these guys completely mine out and play to a draw?
It's absolutely a possibility. It'll probably boil down to one expansion at the very end if they get into it. Where we're going to decide this. As you can see, nobody's really able to make a lap against the other one. They're edging into different locations back and forth, but nobody's really able to hold and secure a position for more than a minute. It's going to be very interesting. I would assume that either the islet expansions or one of the upper right mains is going to play a pivotal role in this game.
Here is the upper center 12 o'clock region, controlled by Liquid Jinro, but Ensnare doing the best he can to get in there and claim possession. Vikings drop down to battle against the Marines. Nice play there by Jinro to protect his own territory. Lots of Vikings there for Jinro.
It's really turned into a siege tank and Viking game. Vikings actually play a very pivotal role in the end game of StarCraft 2, Terran versus Terran, because at that point in time you have so many siege tanks, the Marines aren't as impactful. And really, it's about the Vikings and their ability to utilize vision. By the way, it actually looks like Ensnare's going to move out here. He's bringing a bunch of his SCVs with him. He's really going to try to get in here.
Going to 9 o'clock. Jinro a little bit late getting there, but he does arrive now with plenty of forces. Ensnare trying to push through at the 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock location. Lots of Vikings. Jinro responding with Vikings, and now eventually chasing Ensnare away.
Beautiful moment there where both Ensnare tried to jump onto the air with the Vikings, and Jinro instantly hopped up at the same time to gun down his opponent's Vikings. Right now, Jinro is getting the slightest lead with the Viking count, but now he's in a difficult spot because if he raises these Vikings into the air, it'll be tough. But for whatever reason, Ensnare decides to drop his own, which means he's going to lose all of his Vikings here. Marauders are going to be key in stopping this Viking attack.
Jinro trying to get through, but Ensnare brings some extra reinforcements to ensure he doesn't lose any extra buildings there. Zelnago Watchtower controlled there by Ensnare. Let's take a look at the upper left, the 11 o'clock location.
Battle cruisers on the way now, as we're getting into a full-on late-game Terran versus Terran. Now, the problem for going battle cruisers is that Vikings can kite them in this matchup due to the range advantage. So Jinro's going to have to be careful in that situation. This may be a little bit too StarCraft 1-esque of a maneuver, but we're going to have to see as time progresses. Again, the sand is running out of the hourglass. There's not that many resource patches left in this map.
Liquid Jinro going to battle cruisers. As we take a look at his base, plenty of Vikings. Raven there as well. The Raven goes down as Ensnare shoots it down. We have not seen the battle cruiser from Ensnare's perspective yet, so we don't know if he has seen it yet.
You know, another big factor that we have to ask ourselves is, will this battle cruiser actually even play a pivotal role in this game, or is this just going to be, you know, as exciting as it is to see a battle cruiser, will this actually change the way that they're behaving? Another engagement over here. The battle cruiser looks like the hand has been tipped as he's been scanned.
And the battle cruiser has been spotted now by Ensnare. We'll see how it plays a factor in the game now. Jinro on the attack. And
nice, takes out the Ghost Academy. Nukes won't play a factor for now.
Once again, Jinro trying to take out some more here as, oh no, he's being scanned now by Ensnare. As Ensnare takes a peek at his units. A lot of units there, including a couple of battle cruisers for Jinro.
As you can see now, these Vikings right now are starting to play a pivotal role as Jinro now has too many Vikings, I think, on the map. The battle cruisers, accompanied with the Vikings, are able to take out the ground forces. I would say about 15 or 16 Vikings right now coming out here for Jinro, but Ensnare now engaging in the middle of the map.
Ensnare trying to push through. Jinro has him from both sides. He's got the battle cruisers there, but a lot of Vikings. Down goes one battle cruiser. Is he going to lose the other? He's got a Thor there to help defend against it. Down goes the other battle cruiser, but is he going to push through? No, Jinro backs off, and once again we hit a stalemate.
Unbelievable. You never see a Terran versus Terran that turns out to be this close, this even, this deep into the game. Ensnare's Mind Out is main. It looks like the primary expansion for Ensnare's Mind Out. This could be an interesting situation where, because Ensnare had the resource advantage early on, as time passes, he's going to have the resource disadvantage later on, because now Jinro still has a fully functioning main base at the top north part of the map. And this could be a moment where it looks like Jinro has weathered the Ensnare storm and is now going to be in the lead.
Chasing some Vikings away once again. Taking out a refinery, going after the orbital now, and looks like he's going to get it. Vikings on their way there. Is it going to be too late? It looks like that will be. Oh, he picks up, rendering the Marauders useless against the base. And is he actually going to salvage this? Wow, I thought he was going to lose that base.
Really interesting moment here. As you can see, that's going to be it. GG. No way for him to recover after just that small expansion. Wow, look at the excitement on Jinro's face.
And maybe Jinro's just happy the game's over. You can see just how happy Jinro was at the end of the game. Let's briefly talk about lasting through a match that long, and obviously a game that really was going one way or the other. We really did not know through most of this game, and to be able to come out with a victory, I mean, obviously he's got to be very pleased with what you showed.
You know, it's an interesting game for a multitude of different reasons. First of all, Ensnare had the slightest economic lead early on. So what happens is that although they had so many close exchanges and nobody really had the lead as far as position goes, which is really what Terran versus Terran is all about, the fact of the matter is, as Jinro weathered that storm, he got into a position where suddenly he actually had the mineral lead. And I have to say, that's such a rare thing to see in a Terran versus Terran. I cannot even imagine how happy Jinro is to come out on top of one of the most legendary Terran versus Terrans I've ever seen.
We take a look at the end game. Battle cruisers brought in by Jinro and Ensnare, going a different direction. Didn't really seem to play too big of a factor in the game, as the control from both players were just so good.
Yeah, oddly enough, the battle cruisers never played a pivotal role in the positioning game for this matchup. Again, this is so unique because Terran vs. Terran normally is a big chess game where you're trying to move your pieces into the right spot and eventually it turns into checkmate. Instead, it was a game where nobody ever really got a positional lead, and even the battle cruisers, one of the most pivotal units in Starcraft 2, never played a factor.
Also taking out the Ghost Academy, as you mentioned, a big factor in making sure that there weren't any nukes in this game. That would have been fun to see, though.
I would have loved to see nukes. It's too bad it didn't actually occur, but you know, the important part is that you could see really the stamina that Jinro has. That's almost unmatched. And Ensnare as well, he was very, very good. You just don't see that kind of stuff occurring. Normally, it's one person makes one move. It either succeeds or, you know, does not succeed. And from there, we just move the pieces around the board until eventually somebody has to tap out GG, but not in this game, and that's why we will never forget this game in StarCraft 2 history.
Well, a close match between two equally matched opponents. In this particular game, Jinro coming out on top by the slightest of edges. And of course, we're going to be bringing you some more StarCraft 2 action in our next episode. Do join us for that as well. For Nick, Tasteless, Plott, I'm Jason Lee. Goodbye.
Hey folks, my name is Philippe Cho and I do welcome you to another edition of Brand New Games in Korea, where I shall introduce you to the latest releases within the gaming industry. So how about making my own Italian ice cream? Gelato Mania! Yes, it's a very original puzzle game that allows the player to make delicious ice cream. Using the touch function on the iPhone, the player has to first match the shape of the given ice cream in order to clear the stage. At first, the level of difficulty is rather easy, with the ice cream that anybody, even I, could actually make. And also with the ingredients and all the ingredients and toppings available, ladies and children alike will find plenty to actually satisfy their curiosity on ice cream making. Now, of course, things do get considerably more complex as the game progresses. The manufacturing process is dissected and players have to memorize it and then follow it, which actually makes it a perfect memory and thinking sort of exercise for your children as well. You might think about that. Craving for some delicious ice cream? Just try out Gelato Mania. My name's Philippe, and of course, I'll be back next time around with more news from the gaming industry.